My name is Linda, and this is the story of how I fell in love with a man I never truly knew, a man who was not of this world. It started on an ordinary day as I was walking home from the market. My hands were full of groceries when I saw Emeka. He was tall, muscular, and strikingly handsome, the kind of man who could make any woman stop in her tracks. I couldn't help but stare. His presence was magnetic, and his confidence as he strode down the road was undeniable. I didn't realize I'd been gawking until he caught me. He turned and smiled, a slow, disarming smile that made my heart race. And before I could look away, he started walking toward me. I felt a surge of panic. Was he really coming to me? My pulse quickened. And I prayed silently that I wouldn't embarrass myself. When he stopped right in front of me, I nearly dropped my groceries. "Hi, my name is Emeka," he said in a deep, smooth voice. For a moment, I couldn't find my words. I was mesmerized by his eyes, which seemed to hold an entire universe within them. Finally, I managed to reply. "Hi, I'm Linda," I said, feeling my cheeks flush. "You have a beautiful smile," he continued, his gaze never leaving mine. I couldn't just walk past without saying something. We talked for a while, and when he offered to walk me home, I couldn't say no. That simple meeting marked the beginning of a whirlwind romance. Over the next few months, Emeka and I became inseparable. He was attentive, caring, and always knew how to make me laugh. He treated me like I was the only woman in the world. And when he proposed, I said yes, without hesitation. Our wedding was simple, but beautiful. Emeka claimed his family couldn't attend because they lived far away, in a remote village he rarely visited. At the time, I thought nothing of it. After all, love was all we needed, or so I believed. Married life with Emeka was blissful. But as time went on, I began to notice little things that didn't quite add up. He never talked about his past, and he avoided my questions about his family. Whenever I brought up the idea of visiting his hometown, he would brush it off with vague excuses. At first, I let it go. I told myself that he would open up when he was ready. But as the months turned into a year, I grew impatient. One evening, as we sat together on the veranda, I brought it up again. "Emeka," I said, "I want to meet your people. It's been over a year. Don't you think it's time I visited your hometown?" He sighed, his usual warmth replaced by a strange, distant look. "Linda, it's not that simple," he said. "My village is complicated." "What does that even mean?" I pressed. "We're married, Emeka. I deserve to meet your family." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, as if surrendering, he nodded. "All right," he said. "We'll go this weekend." That Saturday, we set off early in the morning. The journey was long and winding, taking us deeper into the countryside. As we neared his village, Emeka grew quieter, his usual charm replaced by a palpable tension. When we arrived, he told me we needed to walk the rest of the way. The path was narrow, surrounded by dense trees that seemed to close in around us. Halfway through, Emeka stopped suddenly. "Linda," he said, "I need to take care of something. Keep walking straight. The house we're going to is just ahead. It's a small yellow house with a red roof. You can't miss it." Before I could respond, he turned and disappeared into the trees. I called after him, but he didn't answer. I kept walking, my unease growing with each step. Finally, I saw the house he'd described, a modest yellow building with a red roof, just as he'd said. I knocked on the door, and an elderly woman answered. Good afternoon, I said, trying to steady my voice. I'm looking for Emeka's family. I'm his wife. The woman froze, her eyes widening in shock. Emeka? She whispered, her voice trembling. Yes, I said, confused by her reaction. He brought me here and told me to come to this house. She stepped back, clutching the doorframe as if to steady herself. My child, she said slowly, Emeka has been dead for 6 years. Her words hit me like a thunderbolt. That's impossible, I stammered. I just saw him. We've been married for over a year. The woman shook her head, tears welling in her eyes. She invited me inside and showed me a framed photograph hanging on the wall. It was Emeka, dressed in clothes that looked decades old. He died in an accident, she said. Right here in this village. His car went off the road. We buried him in the village cemetery. I couldn't believe it. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it all. How could the man I'd loved, the man I'd married, be dead? I stumbled out of the house, my heart pounding. I ran back down the path, calling his name, but there was no answer. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. For weeks, I was inconsolable. I returned to the city, haunted by memories of Emeka and the love we'd shared. I thought about every moment, every smile, and wondered how I hadn't seen the truth. But as time passed, I came to accept what had happened. Emeka had come into my life for a reason, and though his presence was fleeting, his love was real. Even now, I sometimes feel his presence, a gentle breeze on a quiet evening, the faint sound of laughter in an empty room. And though he is gone, he will always remain a part of me. I married a ghost, but I loved a man. And that love